Hi, I'm Em Roblin. I'm about helping you step into your potential, awaken to new possibilities, build effective partnerships that are rooted in trust. That's what I want to talk about today. Specifically, I want to talk about names, pronouncing people's names correctly, calling people by the name that they prefer to be called. What a simple and powerful way to build those partnerships that are rooted in trust. Recently I was facilitating a workshop with a global intact team. So people from all over the world, and they had been working together for some time. So in that case, like I was the outsider and I was coming in. Now, one practice I have working globally is like getting familiar with the name list as much as I can and doing my homework, especially in cultures or languages that I don't speak, that I'm less familiar. It's like figuring out, is this a common name and how do I pronounce it? So I'm not forcing people to teach me something that actually in their culture like is pretty common and straightforward. Let me do my homework first. But sometimes maybe names are less common, or I might get the pronunciation wrong. So checking in with people maybe the first time I interact with them. And in this case, this was one of the first callers into this leadership team meeting. So I was able to check in with this one person that had a name I couldn't pronounce. Just checking in. So how do you actually say how do you say it? Am I getting it right? Tell me the story about it. This was not a common name. It was a really interesting one, and we had this great little dialogue as a kind of icebreaker. So the program went on, and I was calling this person by their name, and I even checked in, like I got the pronunciation, and I asked, what's the name you prefer to be called? She said, just please call me my name. I was like, okay, great. So we went on, and then at some point later in the session, one of this their colleague on this leadership team said, oh, in fact, we call this person, and they had like taken a Western version and a simplified version of that name, and said, this is what we call this person. And so please, you're confusing us, kind of thing. And it was a really interesting dialogue that ensued, where we had this conversation like, well, what's my actual name and what's the name I prefer to be called? And these people have been working together for years. And this person, we can understand, it's like, of course, it would be great if people could make the effort and say my name, how I like to be called. But I also don't want to be like a burden all the time and making it hard for people. So I know a lot of people that work in global teams that have names that are hard to pronounce just are like, just forget it. Just call me whatever. But that empathy shouldn't make that person feel like they can't be themselves. I mean, I was thinking about this recently when I was on a client call, and one of the key stakeholders was calling me by the wrong name. They were calling me Robin, which is like an incorrect version of my surname. And I get it working in the global context. And, I have a name that's pretty easy to pronounce in any culture, Emily, but then again, I prefer to be called M. And I've learned even in like Vietnamese, M means like sister. So it's like, of course, it's really confusing. But this person was calling me by Robin, and we were going through some tangible outcomes and things. But I did just say, oh, by the way, the name I prefer to be called, my name is Emily. I prefer to be called M. Please call me M. And we went on. But after that call, I was reflecting on it and just reflecting on really how I felt in that situation where this person kept calling me Robin. And it's like, how do I feel? It's like distant. You feel distant. You feel like not yourself. Or let's put it the other way. When people call you by the name you like to be called, that people in your community use, that your family and friends use, it's like you feel heard and seen and whole and like you belong and like you have space to be yourself. What a different feeling. Let's go ahead and make the effort not only to pronounce people's names correctly, but to figure out what name people prefer to be called and to respect that and call them by that name. Interesting to hear what's reflecting. This is just one simple thing around building effective partnerships that are rooted in trust, where people feel like they can show up as themselves. Lots of other tips and tricks on this topic. Look forward to digging into it more.